the challenging side of letting things happen. Do you have a theme for this year? A word? Like an intuitive knowing of like what this year will bring, or maybe a hope for how it will go and how it will exist, like your intention for the time being? Every year, I wait for the intuitive message of the overall theme of the upcoming year. Sometimes it comes in clear and bright as day, and other times it takes a little bit longer for it to really manifest itself. A couple of years ago, it came the October of the year before, and it was it like smacked me in the face, and I knew without a doubt that that was the upcoming year. And I was simultaneously excited for it and scared and nervous about it because the word was persevere. Now, if you look at the time frame, I got the word persevere in October, and then COVID hit us. And we all had to persevere, and we all had to navigate because, holy crap, there were people who were really taken down by COVID. There were people who weren't really affected by it at all. We had to wear masks. We had to adjust to the new social challenges and changes. Some of us weren't all too worried about COVID. Others were very, very concerned and worried about it. And we all had to navigate together. And it was a huge struggle. And it was the entire year. We were faced with new adjustments and new shifts, trying to find a balance and trying to figure out where we could live and be as a society without spreading this disease to so many people. And there were so many people dying from it. And perseverance was so the perfect word for that year. And the next year, for last year, I kept waiting for the word and it just wouldn't come. And I was really frustrated with the word not being present because I wanted to know, what should I look for? What should I be expecting in 2021, 22? And nothing was coming. Nothing wanted to be there. But then in the middle of the year, I realized that the word was a carryover from the year before, and perseverance was absolutely my word again, which was just as frustrating because, quite frankly, if I had known earlier, I would have been screaming at the universe that I had already lived through a year of that, and I really didn't want to deal with another year of it, and I would have been really upset and frustrated. However, having realized it and embracing it and accepting it in the middle of the year, then, okay, fine, I've already been doing it, so I can continue doing it for a little bit longer. This year is so different. It's February now, and I have had tons of nudges saying, hey, Krystal. Like, I have known this word for a while now. And at first I thought it was very surfacey and it was just very businessy, but I'm going to tell you that it is so much deeper and so much more. My word for this period of time is allow. Just allow. I was working on a project and I was really beating my head against the wall. I had set the intention for the morning that this was the project I was going to take care of. I was going to make huge strides on it so that I could feel better because it had been weighing on me for quite some time. So I literally hit my head against the wall all morning long trying to figure out the answers to these questions and what I needed to do and how I was going to move forward. And nothing was working. I was swimming upstream. I was fighting against unknown forces, and I was so annoyed and discouraged and frustrated. So finally, at lunchtime, I closed my laptop. I went and I talked with my husband and I vented, and I might have shed a tear or two in my frustration for the moment. And I finally just kind of stomped my feet in a little temper tantrum and I said, that's it, universe, I quit. You need to bring it to me, and I am going to allow you to help me answer this problem, find the solution. And I kid you not, 10 minutes after I had said, that's it, I'm going to sit back and allow, I got a phone call. And this phone call answered all of my questions. solved all of those problems, and completed the project of the morning with a nice little bow on top saying, "Here you go." I was so frustrated. I was so upset. And all I had to do was stop and allow. Take a breather, stop beating the nail. It's not going anywhere. It's already far enough into the wood, and allow. And it just opened up. And it was so beautiful. And I was so grateful. And my afternoon was wonderful because I had stopped and allowed. A couple of days later, I woke up and I had a myriad of things that I really needed to accomplish. I needed to get some more stuff done, and I needed to check those off my list. They were all these little things that had compiled on the side. And so I woke up with this intention and this purpose, and I was going to succeed. And all of these other little things just kept getting in my way. All of these other little distractions kept pulling me, and I would have to deal with this fire and deal with that fire and put this fire out. And it was really upsetting. I was so frustrated with the fact that I couldn't just focus on what it was that I needed to do. And so finally, lunch comes, and I said, I quit. I'm not going to push anymore. I'm not going to focus on that anymore, and I'm going to allow. So, universe, what needs to happen? My higher power, how does this need to flow so that I can get done and end my day in a more positive note? And it was like the plug had been pulled out of the bathtub, and everything just started to flow beautifully. And the afternoon was filled with success. There were fewer distractions, and I was able to complete my whole list. All because I believe I said, I'm going to stop pushing and I'm going to start allowing. I love it. I love this word for me in this moment right now. I'm learning that I have to allow more self-care at this point in time in my life. Allow self-care. Now, I'm the queen of self-care. I can reframe almost anything into self-care as long as it's a conscious and intentional act. I can be like, yeah, so I'm going to intentionally take an hour and read a book right now, or I'm going to consciously go out and throw some pottery, or I'm going to consciously and intentionally take some time and whatever it is. But I'm the queen of reframing things. As long as I can recognize that I'm choosing to do this, then it's really good. Lately, on my self-care list, I've been taking care of my physical body, and I've been taking care of my mental body, and I've been taking care of my spiritual body. But all of my self-care was focused at those bodies, and I was very much avoiding and ignoring the emotional self-care that I desperately needed to do. It was like the little boy at the dam with my finger in the hole, trying to hold back this torrent of emotion that just waited to come out. And yet I was telling everybody, I'm fine, hoping that nobody would recognize that I wasn't fine, until one day with a loved one, I'm on the phone, and a very kind question of, okay, so that's how everything else is. How are you doing? Released the flood. And I found myself on my knees sobbing, allowing them to hold space for me, allowing her to hold space for me while I tended to my emotional body in that moment. I allowed my emotions to come out. I allowed myself to feel. And there was that word again in the middle of this release. That word came, allow. It's very obvious. It's very obvious to me that allow is a big deal, especially for me in this time frame, in this period of life. And it's not just business. Allow is coming on so many different ways. We've talked about the challenging side of self-care, like having difficult conversations and giving yourself a budget and stopping procrastination. And here I am, and I feel like there's also a challenging side of allowing. The challenging side of letting things happen, how we push really hard because we think that pushing is going to make it better, and then we find out that stepping back is the way to go forward, and we find out that allowing ourselves to step back, allowing ourselves to breathe, allowing ourselves to cry, allowing ourselves that moment to just tune out because we're really struggling, There are things that's really hard to allow, and yet they help us a lot. So this year, I'm going to continue working on allowing. And I'm really excited to see what the end of this year brings and what growth I've experienced due to paying attention to that word and how I can take in and receive and allow the gifts that will come to me instead of fighting against the stream and torrent. I would love to know your word. What do you feel is coming this year? Or what is your intention for the year? What is your focus? And then I would love for all of us to look back at the end of the year and say, how did that play out? And that was pretty damn cool. So now let's look at the next year again.